Hello, everyone. In this session, we will explore how the disassembly process is managed in the system. This will help you understand how it works to support business operations by optimizing inventory. Let's begin with the agenda for this session. The agenda here is quite simple. First, we will understand the concept of disassembly. Then we'll look at a use case to see how it works in practice. Next, we have the objective for this session. The objective of this session is to enable you to understand disassembly and its associated terms in the context of business processes. It also aims to enable you to test the disassembly process in the context of business requirements. Now let's take a quick look at the prerequisites you'll need before working with disassembly in Onfinity. Make sure you have access to the platform with a valid user ID and password. In addition, the tenant and organization configurations must be completed and available. Let's begin our understanding by looking at the concept of disassembly. Having a clear understanding of this concept will help us follow the process more easily. Disassembly refers to the process of breaking down a finished product into its individual components. This is typically done to recover usable parts, manage returns, or repurpose components. In simple words, instead of creating something new, we are carefully separating the product into the pieces it was originally made of. It involves minimal transformation, where the product is simply taken apart. For example, a desktop unit can be disassembled into a keyboard, mouse, monitor, and CPU. These components can then be reused, resold, or even recycled depending on the business requirement. This example shows how disassembly allows organizations to maximize value from existing products. In the Onfinity system, the assembly screen is also used to record disassembly transactions. So, we can create an assembly, run the assembly process, and also carry out the disassembly process, all from the same screen of assembly. Here, you can capture the details of items being broken down and track how their components are returned to inventory. This ensures transparency in the process and helps maintain better inventory management. We will review the process step by step to understand how disassembly works. Next, let's identify the process flow configuration tasks that are necessary for performing a disassembly. To record a disassembly, here are some prerequisites which must be available in the system. You need to have a warehouse and locator defined and product with a bill of material, abbreviated as BOM. The bill of material essentially represents the components that will be extracted from the finished good. In our example, that would be the desktop. Finally, a valid unit of measure, or UOM, must also be defined in the system. Let's move on to the disassembly use case. For a clearer understanding of the process, let's consider a use case that will help you visualize how this works in a real business scenario. In this case, Sonic Venture is a technology company that assembles customized desktop units for enterprise clients. It also handles returns and refurbishments. When customers return desktop units, Sonic Venture disassembles them to recover usable components like monitors, CPU, RAM modules, keyboards, and mice. These parts are tested and either reused in new assemblies or sold as refurbished components. This use case essentially represents the initiation of the disassembly process, illustrating how a finished product is broken down in practice. It highlights how business requirements or operational needs drive the recovery of components, their testing, and their reuse in new assemblies or sale as refurbished parts. Now, let's review the disassembly process flow before we proceed with executing this use case in the system. To process a disassembly, we simply need to disassemble the components, which is carried out using the assembly screen. This process can be executed independently without reliance on any other process. The only requirement is a verified finished product. In practice, we go to the assembly screen and process the disassembly by specifying the quantity using a negative value, indicating the items being removed from the finished product. Let's proceed with the disassembly use case execution to see how the entire process is executed and concluded. Once returned desktops are received, they are sent to the disassembly unit. The process begins with separating the casing, followed by careful removal of internal components like the motherboard, RAM, and storage. After inspection and quality checks, reusable parts are stored in inventory, while damaged parts are sent for recycling. This process helps Sonic Venture reduce waste, manage inventory efficiently, and support sustainability goals. That provides the conceptual foundation for our disassembly process, and I hope it has given you a clear understanding of how it works. To see this process in action within the system, let's move to Onfinity system and go through the disassembly process step by step. To begin, open the Onfinity link in your browser. On the Onfinity login page, enter your valid user ID, enter your password, and click on Login to access the Onfinity system. After logging in, you will land on the Onfinity homepage. Here, you will notice a variety of mosaics presenting real-time data from the transactions recorded in the system. These mosaics provide a quick overview of the current business situation. The availability of mosaics depends on the user's access rights and the modules installed in the system. Since this is a demonstration setup, the system contains only a limited number of records and transactions. So, it's normal if the mosaics don't show much data as of now. There's no need to worry. As soon as actual transactions are entered into the system, the mosaics will automatically reflect the relevant information. To run the disassembly process, we first need to open the assembly screen. Let's navigate to it. You can open the assembly screen by either searching for Assembly in the menu search utility or by navigating through the Material Management module. Within Material Management, move on Storage Operations, and there you will find Assembly. Click on it to open the assembly screen. Once you open the assembly screen, you will land on its default landing page. From the landing page of Assembly, you can use the View Record and New Record mosaics to access existing records or create new ones directly. Additionally, there is the Advanced Search mosaic, which can be used for filtering records as needed. At this stage, no other charts or mosaics have been created for the assembly screen, but additional mosaics can be set up later to provide process-specific insights as required. As you may already know, the assembly screen is used for handling assembly processes as well. If you would like to understand the standard assembly process in more detail, you can refer to the assembly-specific training, which provides a complete walkthrough of that process. To begin the disassembly process, click on the New Record mosaic to add a new record for disassembly. This will open the screen in Single Record View, allowing you to enter the necessary details directly on the assembly screen. At the top of the screen, you will find the assembly screen header panel, which provides quick access to key information such as organization, movement date, document number, and name. This panel also includes the Process Production button to initiate the assembly process, and the Not Posted button to post the record once processing is complete. The first step here is to select the organization for which you want to create the disassembly. Next, enter the name for the record. For example, we can name it Disassembly of Desktop. If you wish to add any additional information, you can use the description field. These notes are purely informational and have no functional impact, so we will leave it blank for now. In the movement date field, enter the date on which this transaction is being processed. Once these details are entered, click Save to save the record. After saving the header information, you can navigate to the Assembly Product tab to add the products. Alternatively, products can also be added from the composite view. For now, click on the Assembly Product tab button to navigate to the Assembly Product tab. Here, click on New Record, which will open the tab in Single Record View, where you can enter all the required details. This view displays all the fields associated with the Assembly Product tab. In the Product field, select the verified product. In our example, this is the desktop. All configurations for this product, including its bill of materials, have already been completed, as covered in the assembly-specific training. If you would like more details on how to create a bill of materials for a product, you can refer to that training video. For now, click on the Product Field option to zoom into the product record, allowing you to review how it has been configured. Next, click on the product name hyperlink to open it in single record view. On the product header, fill in all the mandatory details such as product category, product type, product name, unit of measure, abbreviated as UOM, and tax category. After saving the product header, navigate to the Manufacturing Details tab and mark the Bill of Materials check button as true. Once this is done, the BOM Details tab button and Process Now button will become active. Click on the BOM Details tab to proceed. Here, you need to define the BOM details. Click on the name hyperlink to view it in single record view. After defining the BOM details, navigate to the BOM Component Details tab. On this tab, link all the related components one by one. These steps have already been covered in detail during the assembly training session. Once done, return to the product header and then navigate back to the assembly screen for the disassembly process. The next step is to select the warehouse. For now, we will use Sonic Ventures Warehouse. After selecting the warehouse, choose the locator. In the production quantity field, enter the quantity to be disassembled. In our example, we are disassembling 50 units. Since this is a disassembly process, the quantity must be entered with a negative sign. If the negative sign is not used, the system will process it as an assembly. To correctly run the disassembly process, always ensure that the quantity is entered with a negative sign. Once the quantity is entered correctly, click Save to save the record. Once the record is saved, click on the Process Production button in the header panel and confirm the process by clicking OK. After confirmation, an information page will appear with the checkbox. Product quantity must be in stock. This option ensures that lines are only inserted if the required quantities are available in stock. If the quantities are insufficient, the lines will not be inserted. Click OK to confirm. Once this is done, the assembly component lines will be inserted. You can verify these either in the composite view or by navigating to the Review Assembly Components tab. Here you will notice that the finished goods show a negative quantity, indicating that they have been reduced from stock. At the same time, the components show a positive quantity, which means they have been added to the warehouse inventory. Next, move to the header to process the record. You will also notice that the Record Created check button becomes true after using the Process Production button. This indicates that the product component lines have been successfully inserted, and the record is now ready for further processing to reflect inventory updates. To complete the process, click the Process Production button again, confirm by clicking OK, and acknowledge the information message. The process will only proceed if the required product quantities are available in stock. Once completed, you will see the message, Process Completed Successfully, displayed at the bottom of the screen. This confirms that the disassembly has been successfully processed, and the quantities of the desktop and its component products have been updated in the selected warehouse accordingly. You can then navigate to the Assembly Product tab and then move to Review Assembly Components to verify the cost. You will notice that all costs are updated accordingly. For the disassembly process, the cost is updated based on the current available cost of the product in the system. This information is reflected in the costing info screen for the products. Once this is done, you can move back to the Header tab. This concludes how you can process the disassembly in Onfinity. Here it's important to remember that the production quantity must be entered with a negative sign. This ensures that the system correctly recognizes the transaction as a disassembly and processes it accurately. If you want to post this record, click on the Not Posted button and confirm by clicking OK. This will complete the posting for the selected record, and the corresponding entries will be updated in the general ledger, abbreviated as GL. That concludes the demonstration of how to use the assembly screen for disassembly process in the Onfinity system. Let's move back to the presentation to review the remaining topics. Our next topic is the disassembly mosaics, which we have already explored during the demonstration of the assembly landing page. In the assembly mosaics, we have the Create View mosaic to view records and add new ones, as well as the advanced search, which can be used to filter records as needed. Thank you for attending. I hope this helps you understand how to manage and record the disassembly process in Onfinity.